Greetings, cinephiles. Are you looking for a movie analysis podcast that stands above the rest? Then look no further than Collateral Cinema, the only movie podcast that matters.
We analyze good movies, we analyze bad movies, and yes, we also analyze the in-betweens of the world of cinema.
So if you like what you hear, find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts.
And yes, my friends, we are 420 friendly. So when you listen to us, smoke it if you've got it. And now, here's a new episode of Collateral Gaming. The show starts right now.
I'm Ashley Chancellor.
And I'm Bo Maddox.
And this is Collateral Gaming.
Welcome to Collateral Gaming, the only gaming podcast that matters, where we focus on good games, bad games, and everything else in between in the world of video gaming. We are podcasting straight from somewhere in Texas, and yes, my friends, we are a 420 friendly podcast, so whatever we have, be it dabs, blunts, bongs, or joints, smoke it if you've got it.
And happy Halloween.
Yes, happy Halloween, and apparently I'm the one doing this episode on Collateral Gaming for reasons or something.
It's your episode.
It is my
picked
episode. Yeah, you're not wrong. Yes, it is Collateral Gaming's Halloween special, and we are checking out Dino Crisis, one of the kind of unsung heroes of the survival horror genre, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, and this is Capcom's other franchise that they, were kind of running alongside Resident Evil, although we haven't seen a Dino Crisis entry in years. This is the only one I've played, and this is the first time I've played it. But I've played the first couple Resident Evil games, and so I definitely see a lot of the parallels. If anything, I think that Dino Crisis is a little bit more puzzle-focused, and I like that.
It's way more puzzle-focused and kind of centralized into a very singular location, not unlike Shinji Mikami's very first video game that he ever released, and that would be, at least in the modern PlayStation era, and that would be Resident Evil. It has a lot of overlap with the gameplay of Resident Evil in many ways.
It does, yeah. I think especially, the facility of this game to me feels, in terms of progression, feels a lot like the Arclay Mansion.
It really does. I mean, it even has the main staircase level and everything, kind of like, kind of not unlike the Arclay Manor, and also just the general layout and how, there's like different levels to the facility and everything. It really screams Resident Evil 1. And it screams Raccoon City and the Arclay Mountains and all that good stuff.
It does, yeah, in a lot of ways. But yeah, I really actually got into Dino Crisis more than I expected to. I like the focus on puzzle gameplay. I liked being able to go back through areas and, you'd notice something your first time, and then you'd find some other item, and then you kind of put two and two together. I think that this game, it does give you that sort of logical catharsis that I really enjoy out of puzzle solving in adventure type games. One example of that, I think that's particularly satisfying, is overriding the key cards and using the fingerprint data. So you've got to get both. And you read something that'll tell you need both of these pieces of data. And then, you kind of just figure it out organically. You're like, oh, okay, this person has, here's a registration code for this person, and here's their fingerprint, and you kind of, you know what I mean? And then you do that later on. I remember whenever you get to turning on the generator and nuking the whole place, right? You need Dr. Kirk's data. And I remember immediately figuring out, like, okay, we're going to need this and we're going to need that. There's a point where, Dr. Kirk is being held at gunpoint, and you don't have to go into that room right at that point. But if you do, you can go get his fingerprints, because I'm already thinking ahead, like, I'm going to need this. And so I use that very specific example of a puzzle that was introduced earlier in the game and then reintroduced later, and just to show how that sort of progression happens on the part of the player, or with the DDKs as they get more and more advanced over time, right?
Yeah, I was going to bring up the DDKs because I really like how, instead of like in Resident Evil when you would have to go and find the corresponding, key for the door, the shield key, the armor key, and this and that and whatnot. Here you get two DDK code disc. One is the input disc and one is the actual code disc. And then it kind of turns just opening doors into its own kind of puzzle, which even kind of rises in complexity as you go a little further along and go deeper into the facility. You start to they start adding a more numerical coding and everything. Like you pretty much just have a cipher that you go off of, and you just have to just by process of elimination, just spell out the code that will open up that door. And what that really speaks to me is, and something that I really, really like about this game is how it does lean kind of into the sci-fi a little heavy here,
Yes.
Everything, even the surroundings, has a very technological feel that's still very futuristic to this day. I mean, it's just vaguely technologically grandiose enough that it could kind of maybe make sense in the modern times.
Yeah, I see what you mean, and I mean even the whole gimmick of the plot. I mean, the reason why there are dinosaurs, it's not as simple as they remade them like in Jurassic Park. No, there's a whole machine that can actually displace space and time and swap positions of an area between 2 points in time, and so that's why the dinos are there. The whole thing is very, very sci-fi, and I really enjoyed that. I mean, Resident Evil was also sci-fi. It deals with zombies, but this is a little bit more so. It's got more of that like futuristic feel to it. I don't know, more like the Resident Evil movie, the first one.
Very much so. Yeah, the very first.
That's more like Dino Crisis than any Resident Evil game.
yeah. If you just threw dinosaurs in that movie instead of zombies, you'd essentially have a straight dead-on Dino Crisis game. I mean, hell, even Mila Jovovich would have made an excellent Regina, to be honest.
To be fair, yeah.
They really could have made a solid Dino Crisis movie. But yeah, I mean, when you go to the aesthetic, back to the aesthetic and everything, like with Resident Evil, like even though it did have kind of the sci-fi elements with the T-virus and all of the bioweapons and everything, they still leaned heavily into the horror. It still leaned heavily into mainly body horror and whatnot, and creature horror. And you pair that with the Arkley mansion and everything, and it has this very kind of organic yet really gross and horrific, almost gothic vibe to it, even. And here you don't have that so much. This has, like you said, it has that sterility of the first Resident Evil movie. Everything has a uniform look to it. It's very industrialized. There's multiple generator rooms and generator puzzles that you have to figure out in order to progress. I mean, there's goddamn laser gates and whatnot, which, by the way, it's always fun to just turn one of those on and watch the raptors and the dinosaurs just go head on into it, trying to get to you.
Totally. And especially with like resource management. Like if you're low on ammo and you just got to like run through a hallway, it's like, oh shit, okay, let's flip on the shutter. Run past the dinos.
Exactly. Let me tell you, I actually ran out of ammo close to the end in like level the basement B3. I like ran out of ammo. There's those big granddaddy dinosaurs. I forget what they're called. They start showing up, so I'm having to like just take hits and just mainly just try to mostly worry about, managing my health more so than ammo, because I couldn't find any. I didn't find any more grenade bullets until like near the end of the game. So
see, I hoarded my grenade bullets and I didn't use them until the final boss battle. And then I felt silly because I had like 21 of the grenade bullets and 3 heat bullets. And I was like, okay, I didn't need to hoard these. But I'll tell you what saved me whenever I was at a point in the game where I was low on ammo. The fucking darts. They're actually pretty easy to make too.
Absolutely,
If,
yeah.
If you just consult I consulted a mixing guide online, honestly, so that I just found like a mixing chart so I'd know exactly what I was making. Maybe you might consider that cheating. I don't know, but I actually found that enormously useful, and you can make so many darts.
Yeah, I used the guide, but I mean, I've beat this game before back in the day on the PlayStation, so I can kind of go back on the guide if I don't remember certain things, you know? I mean, a lot of this, of my playthrough was just kind of muscle memory in its own right for, you know, the multiple times that I played it and beat it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I didn't get the ending that I got originally, though. I managed to save Gale, save Rick, and Dr. Kirk, you know, so...
Okay, so
And
everybody except
yeah.
for Kirk, Dr. Kirk died in my playthrough. I saved Gale, Regina and Rick survived. I don't think there's a scenario where they don't. But I did. Dr. Kirk did die. We took the ending where we left on the hovercraft.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I took the ending where I found the underground heliport, and we managed to get Dr. Kirk in there and whatnot.
Gotcha.
I mean, did you fight the Tyrannosaurus Rex in the same way, like on the lift and everything? Did you fight the T-Rex the same way? Or was that a different pathway?
So the T-Rex I fought in the port, actually.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, and it was actually kind of cool because every time the battle was actually a little bit easier than you might think it is once you learn it. Basically, the on-screen
really
indicator pops up, and so you just fire as soon as it tells you to fire. Like you just let the T-Rex come to you, and then you just wait for the aim your gun, wait for the indicator, fire, and you just fire a few grenade bullets in its face like that, and it goes down.
Now my scenario left a little less room for error. Like we were just on this little mechanized lift going towards the underground heliport, and the goddamn T-Rex found its way into that passageway and is just straight up running at me. Like I'm out there on this very limited amount of space that I can actually maneuver on. And I mean, I actually got eaten a couple of times there. But I mean, once you get to the right place and you just time your shots the right way into his face, I mean, it eventually allows you to get into the helicopter and then you blow the motherfucker up. There's a bomb strapped to the bottom of it, so yeah, you blow the motherfucker up at the end. So
fucking A.
Yeah, hell yeah. So that was my scenario that I played through.
Yeah, I'm interested about some of the choices that you made too, because I mean there are I think 3 or 4 different endings to the game, but there are also just different choices that you can make. Some of which affect the ending, some of which are just going to affect how you're going to get through a particular part of the story. So what I noticed during my playthrough was that Gale typically offered the choice that was more action heavy, that just relied on you gunning your way through enemies, whereas Rick usually offered the option that was going to involve more puzzle solving. So I'm curious to hear which of those options you tended to gravitate towards, or if you tried them both.
About the first couple of times that choice came up and everything, I took Rick's choice, but a little closer to the end, I started to kind of go Gale's route, like mainly to actually get Dr. Kirk into custody. Like if you want to leave with Dr. Kirk in custody, you pretty much at the very end, you got to take Gale's route and everything. I mean, I didn't have any ammo at the time, so I just basically had to run and take my hits and just heal wherever and just try to get to the door before the motherfucking dinosaurs got to me. So, yeah, I mean, that's basically the route that I took. I mean, at first I took the more puzzle heavy a couple times, but then near the end I was just like, nah, fuck it, I'm going with Gale. Fuck this Dr. Kirk motherfucker.
Fair enough. I actually mostly went with Rick. I did make one decision where I left with Gale, which I think was the second to last one, and then I sided with Rick for the last one. But yeah, in general, I think Rick's choices just seemed more appealing to me. And then once I learned that they were the more puzzle-oriented one, obviously, I was more into that. I think it was by the time that we got to the point where they were like, yeah, it was like, let's just go pick up the parts in this room, or let's go pick up all of the pieces of these parts and put them together in this other room. And I was like, nah, fuck all that.
That's I actually did that right there.
For the
that
stabilizer
was
and
for
the
stabilizer and
initializer.
the initializer. Yeah, it was for that and everything. But yeah, I mean, the puzzles in this game, I mean, they're quite intuitive. I mean, some of them you just gotta know, the sequence of events that you need to do, especially like those crane puzzles, like
Yeah.
in the basement and everything. Like you just really got to anticipate the movements and just be like, okay, this is going to go over here. It's going to hook up this piece of cargo. It's going to bring it up. It's going to bring it back a few paces, and it's going to put it over here. So you just got to kind of just by process of elimination mostly. Then there were those puzzles where you had the three pieces of the whole puzzle, and you had to just move them in the right place and then choose them in the right sequence, and then it would connect the circuit and whatnot. Like those were fun puzzles, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they definitely were. I actually had a lot of fun with the puzzles in this game. A couple of them actually require you to write something down. I would say.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like there's that one where if you choose Rick's plan to go through the escape hatch, there's no other fucking way but you got to write those letters down. I can't possibly think anybody could just memorize those flashing across the screen. And you don't really have any warning, so I'm kind of like, shit, let me reload real quick. That one, just the different various codes and whatnot are helpful to just have a pen and paper or like notes app on your phone, like I do.
Hell,
or the room where you have to mix the gases just to get just under the right toxicity level.
Hell, there's even an audio puzzle that happens. You uncover a listening device. You listen to a conversation, then you hear this sequence of beeps, and then the puzzle on the computer is whenever you're trying to open up the parts to get the stabilizer and everything. You have to replicate those beeps more or less. So I mean, it's more of a memory game, sort of.
So I didn't do that puzzle because, like I said, I didn't get the parts for the stabilizer and the initializer. I said, "Fuck that."
It's kind of interesting that they even went as far as having an audio puzzle like that. And one of the other puzzles, when you actually put them together near the end, like you just have to line up the pieces as they come in, and then just put it together and whatnot. So. Yeah, a lot of the later puzzles were actually pretty interesting. They actually were engaging even.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they definitely did. They did engage you. Going back, I did like that one puzzle where you mix the gases in the room because the flip side of that, and I believe that if you kill the scientist too soon, you don't get you miss out on an extra item. But I managed to save him, and he talked to me before he died. Not sure why he doesn't carry the same item if he dies, but whatever. Because he dies anyway.
Yeah, I managed to save him as well, so I got much the same items.
Yeah, and then also, if once you solve that puzzle and you go out of the room, one of my favorite parts of the game is whenever the one of the raptors follows you in there. So you can lock him in the room. And for good measure, you could go ahead and gas that bitch because, like, you don't really have to. I think the raptor's stuck in there, but still, why wouldn't you?
I did it as well. I went ahead and just upped the gas levels and poisoned him. I mean, why the fuck not, right?
Yep, because you gotta, right?
Exactly. But let's talk about the actual graphics of this game for a little bit. As opposed to the first three Resident Evil games where they use like pre-rendered graphics and whatnot, the graphics here are more procedurally generated, and the camera is actually not fixed in a certain position. It actually will follow Regina around in certain areas and whatnot.
Yeah.
And that right there actually, that mechanic right there actually kind of set the standard for some of Capcom's future survival horror output, namely Resident Evil Code Veronica, which would use an engine not unlike Dino Crisis' gameplay engine, and had much the same thing. It didn't have the pre-rendered backgrounds. It had a more free-flowing camera that would follow Claire Redfield around and whatnot, even in smaller rooms. So, I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, this was actually really kind of a step forward when it comes to these types of survival horror games.
Yeah, I think it definitely offers a different feel than some of the original Resident Evils, and in fact, I think that at the time this was kind of groundbreaking for this genre. We didn't see fully rendered environments with the characters in them, so I think it gives it a certain level of depth and immersion that while it still operates with the pseudo fixed camera angles and tank controls, it does offer a little bit of a different experience. I was surprised by how terrifying that experience was at times. Even with, the PS1 graphics, they still managed to kind of set a mood with these models and textures. And on top of that, I think in a way that, for instance, the Jurassic Park movies did at parts, they made dinosaurs actually terrifying. What would it be like to come across something that can just kill you, with in one attack? And I think that there are certain attacks that will do that. As there are in Resident Evil games as well. But yeah, no, I genuinely actually, I felt that it actually was kind of scary, which was cool. And I didn't expect that. I was like, okay, it's a game about dinosaurs, but it's in the survival horror genre, but I'm sold.
Yeah. But I mean, what really lends to that though is the actual camera, which is
Right.
much more dynamic than it was in the Resident Evil games. Because the camera in the Resident Evil games, of course, it still had to work within the boundaries of the pre-rendered graphics and whatnot. But here,
right.
I mean, you get cutscenes that are in game, that are generated in game with the graphics and whatnot, that look really superb on for its time. Once again, a really step forward for this type of graphical style.
Yeah, no, it really is. This is one of the better looking PS1 titles, in fact. What a shame, by the way, that Dino Crisis has not seen any substantial number of ports. It's never been remastered or remade. Seriously, give it the Resident Evil remake treatment. I would love to see a modern day a remake of the first Dino Crisis. That would be incredible. I'd love to see what they could do with the, with that behind the shoulder style that we see in the Resident Evil remakes and in the upcoming Silent Hill remake.
Yeah.
And even kind of like modernizing like some of like the choices, right? Like I was thinking about that in game. It's really funny because when you make a choice, this is such a small thing, but hear me out. When you're making a choice in game, I noticed that all it does is it just changes what your destination is going to be on the map, right? That's the only
Pretty
thing
much,
that
yeah.
making the choice right then and there does. So like in a modern game, what that would naturally do is just give you both waypoints on the map and just let you pick which one, which is cool because then you didn't have to necessarily commit to one choice versus another. I don't know. It would be something small, but it's the way I'd handle it in the remake. And you could really kind of extend the game a little bit like they've done, and make it even longer, really, fuck with the mood of it, and make it really kind of visceral.
Yeah. And going back to the whole remaking Dino Crisis thing, the good thing about that is not only would we get the best version of Dino Crisis that we could ever play, it would also be pretty much the best Jurassic Park horror game that we never got,
Right?
Like it would pretty much kind of fill that appetite that the public might have, because that's something that I've noticed, is that there's never been a Jurassic Park game that ever really showed how terrifying the dinosaurs were, just like you alluded to. And it would have been great to get that kind of content, especially now that there's a whole genre of analog horror on YouTube that is based off of Jurassic Park and actually once again shows how the dinosaurs are fucking terrifying.
Well, and even like the movies dive into it a little bit. There are a couple scenes that are shot like horror films, and I felt like those were some of the best bits of the movies.
Well, my argument there is that Jurassic Park was always a horror movie. That's really what it is. It's more of an action horror movie with dinosaurs.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So I mean that's why it was natural to make a game like this, and it was only natural that Shinji Mikami would go with dinosaurs as the next best thing over zombies and bioweapons, you know? And then just using the simple conceit of, just space-time displacement and whatnot to bring them into this world. I mean, you have a really tight and compact little game that, evokes the best parts of Resident Evil. I mean, especially the first game.
Once you hit the ground, head straight to the designated convergence point. Got it?
Sorry I'm late.
It's time. Let's move out.
What about Cooper?
Forget him. Time's up.
Wait! Wait!
Honestly, a remake in this game would just be so awesome. I completely agree. And something that I want to really, really see how they do is combat, because the combat mechanics in this game are actually kind of interesting. Like there's more, it's something that Shinji Mikami called panic horror, more or less, or survival panic in a way. There's certain parts in the game where a dinosaur will get the drop on you, and you have to start mashing buttons whenever it says danger.
Yes.
And if you don't, the dinosaur could easily kill you and whatnot. But honestly, if you're fast enough and whatnot, it shouldn't be an issue. It's a very easy mechanic to use. But also, what I like about this game's combat is it kind of, once again, something that set the standard for future Capcom games was the ability to actually move when you bring your gun up and are ready to fire. You can actually move around. You can clear rooms a little bit with that particular combat mechanic. Like, I mean, you don't have to, awkwardly turn around and then get in place and whatnot, like in Resident Evil.
Yeah.
You pretty much have your gun ready, and then whatever comes up to you, you could just start shooting, and you'll, depending on what upgrades you have on your guns, you can get accurate shots. You can actually put these dinosaurs down with relative ease. I mean, and I really like that, and that really, really kind of set the standard for what we would see in future. Even Resident Evil games. I mean, I think that may have even influenced Resident Evil 4 to a certain degree.
Yeah, I definitely found the combat a lot easier than in the first couple Resident Evil games. I liked, I know what you mean. Like, you actually were able to sort of move around, and that actually made a big world of difference when it came to combat. For me, especially as a modern gamer, that kind of had to go back and experience these types of games for the PS1 era. And I definitely felt like that gave me tactical advantage, so to speak. I think I had a much easier time with this game. That being said, though, some of the dinosaurs can get you very, very quickly in this game, especially in the late game. And like Resident Evil, it kind of becomes a calculus of, can I ignore this? Am I ever going to come back to this room? Can I just leave this raptor in here? Sure, can I just trap him behind shutters? Okay. Can I just put him to sleep real quick and get around? There's a calculus of whether or not it's more worth it to go ahead and clear everything from that room versus, save your resources. Now, I'm a bit of a resource saver, so I've just learned to be with these types of games. So actually, I kind of over hoard in some cases and realize that I'm stockpiling ammo.
Now, I found myself pretty much stockpiling all kinds of health items, types of hemostats, which is interesting. I mean, you can,
I never needed nearly as many as I got of the recovery items.
I had to use hemostats a couple of times, which is an interesting little gameplay mechanic there. You can actually bleed out if you don't use a hemostat, and that will actually affect your health.
Yeah.
And, you also have, the regular med packs, and you can even kind of use the mixing function to kind of double up on the intensity of those as well, and even use those to make poison darts and whatnot. So I was also, I had all kinds of multipliers and anesthetic aids and whatnot, the stuff that you can use to make, to actually make darts and whatnot. I had a glut of that, so I had to eventually just start mixing. I start mixing shit together and just try to see what kind of dart ammo I could come up with.
And it's a system that basically encourages you to experiment. And again, contrasting it with Resident Evil, I felt like in Resident Evil, I kind of try to keep my items as they are, and I don't combine them until I really need space. But otherwise, I might need a single green herb or something. That might be just what I need. But in this game, I feel like you actually are encouraged to kind of just experiment and mix things together and make other things. And because the game and you have limited inventory space, and the game doesn't ever upgrade that. You want to have a hemostat on hand so that you can stop the bleeding. You want to have a med pack on hand so you can heal yourself. Or, do I want to keep both a med pack M and a med pack L, one that'll stop the bleeding and heal me simultaneously? Do I want to keep a couple of the resuscitation medicines on me, which will allow you to spawn right in the previous room if you die, and that way you don't have to reload?
Yeah.
Do I want to keep darts? What ammo do I want to keep on? These are the decisions you have to make. And I think what was really nice is just kind of experimenting with the mixing system helped alleviate the frustration with inventory management, because it was always fun picking up new things and being like, well, what happens if I mix this with this? I know I said I used a mixing guide, but sometimes I also just kind of, experimented or more likely I'd probably just go look it up to see what this combination would do before I tried it. You do sort of get the underlying mechanics behind it as you do that, which is nice. Like you, I stockpiled a bunch of those items, and I had to hold them in the item boxes and never used them.
Yeah. The interesting little kink when it comes to resource and item management here are the various emergency boxes that which are pretty much the equivalent of the item crates in Resident Evil, but this time you have different degrees of emergency box. You have a green one which mostly has health. You have a red box that has mostly ammo, and then you have a yellow emergency box which could have a combination of both. But the kink with that is that you have to have plugs to open them, and certain boxes need multiple plugs in order for you to access what's in there to make it accessible. And some boxes you have to use plugs multiple times in order to get into that inventory. So, I mean, that right there kind of forces you to really think about, what you're going to have. Like, unfortunately, I didn't think, and I lost, and I ended up not having so much ammo near the end of the game. But I just had to dodge all the raptors and whatnot. But I mean, even so, the emergency boxes, I had enough plugs. I was able to get some more grenade bullets, and I was able to, at least be able to meet force with force if I needed to. So,
Yeah, exactly. And so there's a solution in this game for any kind of problem like that, or even if it's just having to just dodge around dinos. There are times I feel like that's kind of an important aspect of a survival horror game, is that you can kind of fuck yourself over, and really just kind of have to power through it. But it's part of the whole experience. Also, just being quick, short games that are very replayable. Again, the multiple endings and multiple choices in the game really give it, more replayability. And just kind of like learning the game, now like I've gone through it once, and now I'm kind of like, well, now I can kind of get through this quickly. Like I'll know what I'll need, and I'll know where I'll need to go. It's definitely a very, very, very replayable game. And I'm excited to actually get into the rest of the series, to be honest. I mean, there's just, 2 other games, 2 and 3, and maybe some spinoffs?
Yes. The second game, though, you're going to notice something very... right off the bat, it's more action-oriented. It's not really what I would call a horror game. I mean, you actually just kind of run through these different levels, and you fight dinosaurs, and you move on to the next part of the level. And unfortunately, it also used pre-rendered backgrounds for it. So the unique graphical style that we see here wasn't replicated in the second game. It was kind of expounded upon in the third game, but the third game really leaned more heavily into the sci-fi and less into the horror, So this right here, this is still the most pure survival horror version of a dinosaur game like this. So,
Yeah, fair enough. I can see that with what I've played, with this game, and still I'm excited to kind of look at the rest of the franchise and see and compare. But yeah, no, that this actually has been a blast. I loved. Again, you mentioned the little like quick time events is basically what they are, where you just hit the buttons really quick, and a couple of those are instant death scenes. Those were definitely some of the more intense parts of the game. Thankfully, I'm playing on an emulator, and I have the use of save states. So
Same here. I have my modded PS Classic. I have Dino Crisis on here. So yeah, I'm being able to quick save and quick load definitely helped a lot. I won't lie.
Yeah. One major difference is that this game does not have any sort of there are no limited saves. You can save as many times as you want. I mean, it'll affect your ranking, but there's no ink ribbons. But instead, the item box isn't free. Now the equivalent of the item box, like you mentioned, requires plugs, and they're scattered all over the map. You never quite know, what you're going to run into. Am I going to run into more ammo? I was left over with 3 plugs at the end of the game, and if I could have taken the path to what I believe is the path to the helipad, but it would just be going out of my way. So
you would have come across some more ammo boxes or some more emergency boxes in the heliports. So you would have been able to use them.
The what I'm trying to say is
there was one, but you didn't use it.
But it was out of my way. It was on the other path than the one that I was going on. So
yeah.
And I had all these leftover. I had exactly enough plugs for it too. And I was just like, I actually started going down that path at first, and then I was like, wait a second. This is not where I'm supposed to be going, and I reloaded. Anyway, I actually, again, I ended up with this game with a bunch of the fucking grenade bullets because I'd never used them. So I get to that T-Rex fight, and I just... No, don't get me wrong. I still died a few times.
Yeah.
The timing is very, very... it's blink and you miss it, so you really have to get it. But you can choose the fight once you figure out the timing. You just gotta aim the weapon and then just fire as soon as it gets near you. But it's a lot of fun. Obviously, like, the game was kind of building up to that fight. I mean, I think you fight the same T-Rex in the game, it seems like, multiple times.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is the same T-Rex.
Yeah.
I think it's even the same T-Rex that gets stunned by by biting that one electrical thing in the B3 area. I don't know if you got to that, but
Yeah, I did.
you do see. Yeah. He comes down in the elevator and everything, the large elevator. But yeah, no, that T-Rex though. I mean, god damn it, he's a fucking dick, man. I mean, shit. I mean, even that first moment when you encounter him in that office.
Yeah, so I just ran.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you did.
And what's funny is that there's an item left in there that I needed, and I had to go back and get it. And thankfully, he leaves when you come back. But I literally just went for the door, and then I think I was looking at a guide online, and they were going over that part of the game, and it was like, yeah, just shoot it in the head a few times. You can try to exit. I don't have a lot of success with this. It usually eats your head, and I'm like, oh, I did it the first try. I just
Exactly.
I just ran. I didn't think I was supposed to fight him. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm out of here.
Yeah, fuck it. I mean, it is a strategy. I just went ahead and took him on. I mean, usually just a couple of even handgun bullets would make him go away in that particular scene. But no, later on when he catches you outside in the backyard of the facility, and he busts the pathway to where you need to go. It's like, oh, I died a few times there as well. I mean, you really got to time those shots just right. Or he will grab you and he will eat you.
No, that part, the second time you're fighting, you're talking, you encounter him, right?
Yeah, the second time you fight. Yeah, the second time you encounter.
Yeah, that encounter, that one, I had a lot of trouble with that one too, even with the use of save states. Because first I didn't realize you actually had to fight him, but you actually do have to fight him then. You can't just run away. The door doesn't unlock until you get a few shots in. And like you said, it's very precise. In fact, it's kind of unfair because he can reach you anywhere on the screen. There's no safe spot, and he has this quick lunge attack. But I learned you just have to watch the animation and wait for the attack that will actually like clear the screen. So you kind of hang in one corner, knock off a few shots as, and then, you move around. When he's about to do the big lunge attack, then you just move to your other corner real quick. But you got to be quick. You got to be quick on your toes. This game's very much an on your toes type of game. It's a very much like a fast paced, like I said, there are enemies that will stomp you on the ground and just kill you in one hit. So you gotta think fast.
Yeah. I mean, but even so, there's the fight with the T-Rex at the heliport, where this time around, instead of fighting him head on, you just evade him tyrant style for a few minutes, and then Rick will say, "Hey, I got this door open, I got this elevator working," and then you just run over there, and then you're done with it.
Yeah. So you want to know the saddest thing? The first time I did that fight, I did waste all my grenade bullets on that guy because I thought I just got these before a boss fight, and then I realized that after he didn't go down after my entire a storm of weapons, I was like, oh, he must actually be invulnerable to weapons at this fight.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's kind of like the tyrant at the end of Resident Evil, where the first few minutes of the game of that fight, you just have to evade him until you get the rocket launcher, and then you line up that shot with the rocket launcher, and he's done. So, I mean, it's just a matter of evade, and then until a scene starts. But I really like the cutscene before that, though. I mean, you think that you're about to get out of there, but then the T-Rex is like, nope. Just comes out, takes out the helicopter, and then you're just kind of fucked for the moment.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Definitely.
But yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and get into our final thoughts. Starting with you, Bo.
I think, like I said before, this is survival horror in its purest form at the time. I mean, Shinji Mikami really kind of achieved a different look and a different vibe for this game that honestly I don't think has really been duplicated since, you know? I mean, he would eventually go on to do stuff like The Evil Within and whatnot, which kind of went back to the more like graphic horror roots and everything. But this type of sci-fi horror, I don't think it's really been done as well like since this game, you know. But and especially a game that captures how terrifying dinosaurs are, you know. I mean, like I said earlier, this is very much the Jurassic Park horror game that we never got, that we should get. We should get a straightforward Jurassic Park horror game, you know? And
Seriously.
honestly, this game right here has like some really memorable characters. I mean, I don't know why, you know, Regina, Gale, and Rick aren't, you know, respected as well as like Chris, Jill, and Barry, you know? I mean, Gale's pretty much the Barry of the group, and I would say that Rick is more like the who would Rick be? He would be the Jill of the group.
Yeah. Wait,
No.
is he the master of lockpicking?
I believe so, but in hacking form. So
Hacking form? Yeah.
yeah, and Regina would be the Chris Redfield. But yeah, the puzzles are intuitive. I really like the graphical style and the way that the camera works. It really laid the groundwork for a lot of future gameplay in future Capcom titles. And honestly, it still looks great. I mean, I'm even watching a playthrough of it. It's upscaled to 4K, and it looks great, even with the PS1 graphics. And I also have it on the PS Classic in front of me on a TV screen showing the original PlayStation graphics. And yeah, I mean, comparing them, they're night and day. But even then, they still look great on either upscaled for 4K or on original hardware. So, I mean, it's a goddamn shame that this series has not gotten better accolades amongst gamers. And honestly, it needs to be revisited. It is absolutely time to revisit this franchise. You know, at the very least, give the original game a remaster, if not just a complete remake. And yeah, we should get back into the dinosaur horror scene. You know, so yeah, this is a great game. I love this game, and I loved it the first time that I played it. Almost 20 some odd years ago, and I love it to this day. It was fun playing through it and beating it again. It brought back great memories. So hell yeah,
Bro. Yeah, Dino Crisis has been a great game to play this Halloween season. I know that Halloween itself is over by this point. It's already almost midnight for us. So, but hey, if you're still in the mood for some spookiness and some thrills, definitely go put this on. Honestly, if you're just down to play a fun game and get high, this is definitely a recommendation. You can emulate it; it's not hard to do so, and play it as God meant it to be played. Not
absolutely.
Really.
Yeah, especially on if you could play it on actual original hardware, by all means. I mean, it's still, like I said, it still looks great. I mean, even being emulated on on AutoBleem, it looks great.
Yeah.
So,
now you emulate it as God intended.
Absolutely.
Because fuck Capcom for not having a playable port of this game at the moment on any modern console. So, yeah. And Capcom, go ahead and, do the Dino Crisis remake. Revitalize interest in the series. Pave the way for a sequel, Dino Crisis 4. Come on. The options are
proper
limitless.
sequel. Yeah, a proper sequel that isn't just an action game. An actual fucking survival horror dinosaur game. Give us that,
Yes.
damn it.
Agreed. That's what we need. The world needs it. Just do it. Just do it. Exactly.
just do it. You can make fire with your mind. You just do it.
But it's a game filled with scares and tense gameplay. You know, you're managing resources. You're solving puzzles. It's everything you'd actually expect out of a Resident Evil game, but just with dinosaurs. And it's a lot of fun. I definitely recommend it. But
hell yeah.
Yeah, this has been a fun Halloween evening. What do you think, Bo?
Oh man, I've had all kinds of fun just even the last couple of days. I mean, we just on Collateral Cinema, we released our Halloween 4 Halloween special. That's the official Collateral Cinema Halloween edition. And also the Halloween edition of the Director's Cut, where Robert and I talked about Nail Gun Massacre, an old school slasher/exploitation movie. So, and we also released not too long ago Trick or Treat, which is itself one of the great Halloween movies of all time. And also, we have Freddy vs. Jason out, another great, fun Halloween slasher movie. So I would say that, let me tell you, October has been a lot of fun this year. I mean, this has been a great beginning of our season, and also a great beginning to Collateral Gaming's season as well.
Yeah, so I would hesitate to call it great, but because we haven't done nearly any of what we said we were going to do.
Yeah.
We were meant to start this in September. I think we just barely made the cutoff, but by the end of September on our first episode. But yeah, so we were meant to do Spider-Man and then Spider-Man Miles Morales in September. And then October, we were going to do, just as our regular episodes, Dino Crisis and Resident Evil 3, with Silent Hill 4 as the Halloween episode. The Spider-Man episodes didn't end up coming out till October. And at the end of the day, we're it's getting closer and closer to Halloween. I think yesterday I was just like, fuck it. Let's go ahead and make Dino Crisis the Halloween special. Forget whatever spooky games we were going to do this year. And I didn't have anything set for a Halloween edition of the bonus round, so we'll go ahead and we'll make Resident Evil 3. We'll get that out by the end of this week, most likely, and conclude our spooky season. Next year, we'll try to be a little bit more on the ball, maybe record things in advance. And we'll save Silent Hill 4 for a future time. We'll definitely get into that.
Yeah.
But it'll probably end up being next year's Halloween special.
Right on.
But
I
mean, talking about Dino Crisis has been fun. I'm excited to play Resident Evil 3 as well, and kind of conclude our Halloween season, so to speak. And then in November, we are finally going to be covering Spider-Man 2. I know that like almost everybody and their mother is basically like platinumed the game, 100%ed it at least in like 2 or 3 days. I've been juggling that while playing Dino Crisis and doing other things, like actually recording and doing podcasts. So I did finish Spider-Man 2, but I'm excited to 100% it and to platinum it, as I have Spider-Man 1 and Miles Morales. All just very short games that are actually pretty easy to platinum, which is kind of cool. But yeah, part 1, we'll be talking about Spider-Man 2. We're still going to be doing it spoiler-free, as we'll be within a month of the game's release. Expect that in the first half of November. And then by the end of the month, we'll be having our spoiler-filled review in part 2. And then in December is our Zelda month. We're going to be doing Oracle of Ages and then Seasons, I think, in that order. Part 1, Oracle of Ages. Part 2, Oracle of Seasons. Our holiday special will be on The Grinch. So that's the rest of 2023 for Collateral Gaming. We managed to record this on Halloween night, so I'm pretty happy, actually.
Oh, yeah. This is fun. This is a fun way to spend a Halloween evening, honestly. So
honestly, yeah. Yeah, so I am excited for the remainder of Collateral Gaming Season 6, Collateral Cinema Season 7. You can check those out wherever you get your podcasts. We are also on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And also check us out on Patreon and get access to exclusive Let's Play video game commentaries for Collateral Gaming and full-length movie commentaries on Collateral Cinema.
Yeah, and Collateral Cinema also has a page on Good Pods. Follow us there. Give us 5-star reviews. Help us climb the ranks of the top 100 film and interview podcasts, film podcasts mostly. We're number 72 on that list at the moment. So, yeah, maybe we can get into the top 50. I don't know. We're within striking distance of that, so give us a little help there. And also check out for Collateral Cinema, we do have a Buy Me a Coffee. I mean, if you just want to give us some money and just forego any extra content, I mean, feel free to throw us $1 or $5 there. So, and check out our Spreadshirt merch store on Spreadshirt. We have hats, shirts, mugs, and all other types of Collateral Cinema swag. And I'm sure we'll have Collateral Gaming swag out very soon, like maybe before the holiday season goes into full swing, maybe.
Yeah, I'll get on that.
Yeah.
I'll add some Collateral Gaming swag
Definitely.
as well. Yeah, that it's going to be awesome to get our merchandise line set up for Collateral Media. Thanks to our listeners for spending your spooky season with us. Or, I mean, if you're listening to this after the fact, no worries. Thanks for spending the time with us nonetheless. I guess that's it for now. That being said, I've been Ashley Chancellor.
And I have been Boasaurus Rex.
And have a safe and happy Halloween if there's any left of it where you're at. Thanks.
Happy Halloween.
Collateral Gaming is a Collateral Media podcast. All music and game clips are owned by their respective creators and are used for educational purposes only. Please don't sue us. We're poor.